So we've got special guest Kevin Elwood in today. We're likely to test the 10D1 on the back squat here. We'll warm it up, see how we go. Kevin weighed in 75 kilos today, day one of the camp. I think he might add some mass while we're here. We'll see how we go. We'll be showing a little bit of what it's like training with the uncommon system, and you'll meet Kevin as well. He mostly likes to speak in Spanish and Portuguese at the moment, but maybe you can introduce yourself, Kev.
How's it going, guys? Kevin from Ireland. Second day in Montenegro village today, and I think the POA today is back squats, and we have Nordics.
Back squats, Nordics. Playing around with some juggling. We'll have to see how the sound goes when it's not close to the mic. I don't know, it's the first time, so this is the experiment. So we did a bit longer warm-up today than what I've usually been doing. Probably something I should be disciplined with around doing this squat every day. Kevin's background is playing a lot of sports. Irish guys generally play a bunch of different sports. He's thinking about rugby. He's thinking about sprinting. At the moment, he's got 3-ball juggling down, no 4-ball. We haven't tested the foot skills yet, but we will soon. Let's go to 60 kilos. The main thing we're talking about today is what do you actually want to achieve? Do you want to be heavier to be a better fit for rugby, or do you want to maximize power to weight ratio for sprinting, or do you want to just look good at the beach? It's important to know the objectives so you know how to train, how to eat. What is it, Kev?
So me and Keegan were talking earlier. You posed the question, where's yourself going? What's more foretelling for your future, what you want to go with? And then I reckon it's the rugby route. That's where it's going to be. Objective, get some mass going on, and then fix this rectus femoris will be the POA today, and we'll see how the squatting session goes as well.
So at 179 centimeters as a back, generally, depending, if you're lightning fast and very skillful, then maybe 85 kilos is heavy enough, maybe 81, 82, but probably 75, 76, 77, probably too light. You guys might tell me, I'm more the rugby league background. Very rare now you see someone under 80 kilos, maybe as a half, like in the skill positions, but not as a winger or even fullback. I don't think you see that. James Tedesco, who I was talking about the other day, plays fullback, which is one of the key speed and skill positions. He's like 90, 97, 98 kilos. He's big, oversized for his position. And often in rugby league, the best players are oversized for their position. So I did an analysis on that in 2010. I got the job to go to the Catalan Dragons. I got my first role as heading up the program. And so I did a weight analysis for the whole league and the National Rugby League in Australia. I put the body weight of all the players, which ones were playing representative and which ones were playing for Australia. And I looked at the average weight in every position and across those different levels. And the guys who weren't likely to play were lighter than the guys who played, who were actually top-level players, and they were lighter than the representative players, and they were lighter than the Australian players. So there was a trend towards being heavier for your position. And there's an advantage for mass. Sonny Bill Williams is the player that I've spoken about quite a lot, that I had the chance to work with. He's 110 kilos and shredded. So he's got more muscle mass than everybody else. His muscle number was like 110, and 100 is usually where guys will work all their life to get to 100 muscle number lean. It's a tough thing to do. He was 110 and very skillful, tall, so it makes it very, very difficult to deal with a player like that. Same with James Tedesco. He's able to get around, get the job done, but he's also heavy, which makes it hard to put him down as well. It's not the only way. There definitely are light players and skill players and players that don't have much strength and power who do really well, but it's not an advantage to be that guy. You have to make up for it with reading the game, with toughness, with lots of other things, So what are your thoughts there, Kev? I'm going to squat.
Thoughts are, seems very doable at a good amount. That's 7 kilos or so, and then we'll see how it goes. As food here has been top notch, unreal, tastes lovely, and then alongside this, and was that like a predetermined metric that each club would track if people were coming onto a team or getting scouted for a team, like they'd have to, weigh it? Or?
Yeah, coaches always, coaches ask about, coaches want to know the weight of the player. And sometimes a coach will say, like with Satili Tupanua, I've talked about this a few times, but coach said, did you do that already or not? I don't think you did.
No,
Coach said, you need to be 110 kilos or you're not going to play. And he hadn't played yet at that stage. And I believe he was off contract at the end of that season. And it's like, you probably better play or you're probably going to get recruited somewhere else. And so that was the challenge. It was about 103 kilos at the time. And so we did the emergency mass sort of protocol, something that we have within Uncommon Success. Basically, it's a lot of rice, cream and butter, as well as hitting your meat target for the day. So you have a meat target, and then you have a lot of fat, and you have carbs. So this is emergency mass. If you add in with that honey, if you add in with that berries, berries just for flavour, but you can add a lot of mass quickly in that way. And he did add that mass. He got to 110 kilos about 6 weeks later. Played just after that. Got a new contract. Still playing at the same club. He's played representative footy. It's not necessarily that made the difference. Maybe it would have happened anyway, but probably not. And he hit the target. He hit the target that he needed to hit, that the coach set for him. So it is quite common for coaches and clubs, especially with guys who aren't quite there, to set targets of, okay, yeah, you need to be heavier, or sometimes they need to be leaner. That's a big target. But rugby league is probably the most physical team sport. It has a bit more contact and somewhere between 7s and 15 aside. It's similar to those sports. They're very physically demanding. If you have a physical advantage, it's a huge advantage. There's a skill component to the game, but it's not like basketball or soccer where the skill component is the biggest component. The physicality is a huge component. There's guys who aren't very skillful at all, who are great players because they're physically dominant. Usually they're quite skillful, at least with their feet, even if they're not with their hands or with their vision. But yeah, I wouldn't say clubs are doing the muscle number, but they generally, I think coaches inherently know, and strength coaches kind of know this is where we need to go to. For me, the muscle number was a way to quantify that, so it was clearer what change needed to happen. And that's, it was a good thing to have with the Roosters. I showed them what their muscle numbers were, and we were testing their body fats, and I would say we were probably the most bodybuilding focused team in the league, and that's what Poliquin was the best bodybuilding coach ever to work in sports. And he coached more Olympic champions, he coached more champion athletes than anyone else. If you can optimize body composition, you're a decent part of the way there for some sports. Not for all sports, but for some sports, that's a big competitive advantage if you can optimize body composition. Not used to these long rests. Warming up. Talking too much. Having someone else to talk to as well.
No, whether could be going for this or this.
I'm on the bottom one today. It's more like a normal squat. I did 3, but just trying to feel warm. All right, let's go 100. And tell us a bit about your journey into being an athlete, what you've been through so far. What systems have you been in? What teams have you been in? Have they had athletic development programs? Give us a bit of the story.
Yeah. So as all started when I was younger. If you ever see The Incredibles, Dash, speed person, the very fast kid. So I always want to be like Dash. Oh, I really want to run the Olympics. I really want to go. Be as fast as I can, and I love running. And then throughout childhood, I would done multiple sports. So as Keegan was saying earlier, like in Ireland, you're doing a good amount of sports left, right, and centre. So there's Gaelic and hurling, which are national sports. Then we have rugby. You're swimming. Never did athletics when I was younger, but always wanted to do it. And then hit around 15, 16, kind of get trials for the Dublin team, which is the capital of Ireland, for Gaelic. And then post that, would have played for development squads a development squad for Leinster. It's kind of Midlands teams, and then you have development squads that come through. Prior to this, when it came to injuries and athletics wise, I always suffered with osteosclerosis, in my kneecap, and then
Osgood Schlatters.
Osteosclerosis, yeah. Then after that, I'd hit. Just 1 sec.
Yeah, squat this first. Solid. Nice. So yeah, you had Osgood Schlatters. For how long did you have that for?
So I must have been 5th class, or what year? 10 years old. Then, so I'd try go training. I was training about, I'd say close to 8-10 times a week, between going from straight to rugby to hurling and other sports. So it was also a lot of activity. And then this issue just persistent, and it was it's to do with your growing pains, and you're growing, and that's what you're going to have. And then other injuries I would have had was everything's right side, so right ankle, right knee, and then a torn hip flexor, which is, I'll get out his way. That's some depth. That's what's looking like, that little hole there ripped. Now it's operation, get that fixed, and then get going on the rugby scene, or back to running, as high speeds is what really messes that up at the moment.
By operation, fix that, you mean work on what's going to fix it more so than... You probably couldn't get surgery on that now anyway, hey? It's be all scarred up and balled up. I've had another player have the same injury, and he still had a really good career after that.
What's his name again?
Remy Casti. Strong. Good. Solid.
We're saying 1.5 or
120?
What are you going with today?
I don't know, we'll see how this goes. But yeah, a lot of young athletes have overuse injuries or they're not necessarily overuse injuries. They're like misuse or just not knowing how to recuperate the tissues, basically. And the thing of, it's because you're growing. Like, it is partly because you're growing, but what would be the solution to that? If the thing is that, okay, there's too much tension, there's too much resting tension, and it's pulling on the bone, and the bone is deforming and getting sore because of that, then you either need to figure out how to make the bones stronger through nutritional intervention, or how do you ease off some of that tension so that you don't have as much pulling on that structure. And training the long range is a way to be able to spread the force and to be able to lengthen the tissue so that you don't have as much of that pulling. We have lots and lots of guys that get over their issues through a lot of short range for circulation, and then the long range for readjusting the tissues and strengthening connective tissues. What ended up happening with I guess that tension in your hip flexor, that was probably a big part of what the osseous ladders was, but then it's probably partly why you end up tearing the rectus femoris as well. Like, it's related to each other. Did the osseous ladders go away before you had the hip flexor tear, or?
No, I'd say I had the osseous ladders. I don't know. I've run so much that maybe it comes back. I don't know if it would, but activity wise, I haven't been pushing that, so I wouldn't know. It's only been twice a week, 3 times a week running.
I put those pins down yesterday. It's actually the right height now. I've been battling in and out. Probably would have made it, but there's not really much point maxing out on the first session here, or maybe getting into a position that's not ideal. So I reckon we go back to 110. We'll get some reps on the minute now. Two's probably a good number. See how it feels for one. Yeah.
You're going twos?
Yeah, I think I'll do twos. Solid. I'll do, yeah. Keep it smooth. We want these workouts to be repeatable, weights that we feel pretty confident with. Comes around fast, with the 1 minutes. Right. Let's see. Let's do at least 5. working to keep the weight on the quads rather than just standing up as fast as possible. Feels alright. Here we go, strong rep. Alright. I went a bit early there, did I?
Oh, yeah.
I think I heard the beep go halfway through there.
Can't wait to get into the bed.
Better than being the other way where you feel like you need a bit of extra rest. Come on. Speed. All right. We'll do these. We'll do 5 of these for you, and then we'll drop it and go higher reps.
You're going for 5.
How's that feeling for you? If you were training yourself at home, what would you think of that?
Yeah, being honest, this feels heavier than it should. Don't know if it's past 2 days travelling here or if it's just lots a bit of weight, but we'll get the numbers back up pretty soon. As we're in the Mecca, Montenegro, so we're the house of gains, maybe. Don't know what the coined term is for here. I'm assuming they're gonna have it all painted up, you know.
How many's that? That's 5, eh? 5 for me, 4 for you.
Nil?
Yeah.
This? Alright.
No, this is your 5th, isn't it?
Oh, you mean set, sir?
Yeah.
Reps now.
There we go. That's better. When it's at that sort of way, like, it's very unlikely you'd miss it. But if you don't really focus, it can be a bit slow, and then you kind of get a shock. Like, well, it's not going very fast. Got to stand up. All right, let's drop it back.
It's definitely a weird experience squatting on your feet rather than shoes or Vivos.
Oh yeah, you used to wearing shoes, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we got 80 now. So we got 5D2 would be the terminology. 2 reps on the minute for 5 minutes. 110 for me. Singles for. No, I think we lost a bit of speed with the transition. Maybe 5. Yeah. That's the one. Bob. Good. Solid.
Gee, the difference, I feel so much better. First dropping in at the, wouldn't normally do that.
get him. Straight in.
Straight in, I'm guessing.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Solid. Decent bar speed on these.
We're on.
3 of them. Yep. Strong. Boom. Yep. Good. Get some company. Getting some company.
How many was that?
5. Doing 5 at 80. First you did 2s at 110. Boom. Strong. Yep. That feel? Activity completed. I don't know, just feeling through this sticking point.
Well, come on to it and come back then.
Yeah.
You weren't putting it up now, were you?
No.
Any reason to go on that?
It's a good way to get more practice, really feel confident in the difficult part of the lift rather than kind of blasting through it, rushing through it. It's good to do fast concentric work where you work through as fast as you can, but it's also good to get some work done where you can really control and dominate the weight, whether that's for speed or building up the weaker positions. So that was the squats. We'll go into Nordics now, see how we go. So we've got a bit of a funky setup here. I've been able to do the Nordics on some of the other benches, but this one I haven't been able to. This is the Freak Athlete Nordic bench, their first prototype. So we set up on a bit of an incline, put another pad, see how we go. So yeah, this setup will allow me to get some work done. The angles make quite a big difference if it's sort of like pointing down. Give him a fresh sweat spot. Yeah, the first one I put my hands down, get a bit of a feel for it. But yeah, have a go, lay down. Yeah, put your hands down by your side, down on the plates. Yeah, and then fire them back and fire yourself back at the same time. Don't push down on the plates. Lift your arms up. So like a jump in reverse. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, you pushed off with your hands. See if you can get one. Nice. That's the way.
Nice.
It's not Olympic standard because we don't really know this setup, but at least we're getting some work done.
What's the difference between like people that go straight down like that versus if I go here?
Yeah, the different joint angles where you put the tension, and ultimately we're only doing Nordics as a tool to help other lifts. So it's not, if you're putting a lot of tension through the hamstrings, yeah. So there's that way of doing them where the butt kind of comes back, and then there's the other way of doing them where you lead with the shoulders coming up, which and Marcel sort of showed us. So it's tricky with this setup, but ultimately if you're getting a lot of tension through the hamstrings, like it doesn't matter. You don't need Nordic police to say this is the one and only way and the other ways are all bad. It doesn't work like that. If you're getting a lot of tension through the tissues and you're getting adaptation, it's just a tool to help with sprinting, to help with running, to make stronger hamstrings. If you're getting the tension there, then it's going to work. So the other way to look at it is pulling the shoulders up first. So you're thinking about, first thing to do is this. I'm not getting them all the way up, but that's what I'm thinking about. It's like arch first. Should feel a bit warmer. This set. Those pads are pretty brutal as well. This is the prototype version. The bench from Freak Athlete got better and better. Yeah. No. There we go. That's the one. Nice. There's a lot of tension there. There's no way that that's not a good exercise because of X, Y, Z, because of the pelvic position or because of whatever. There's an element of, let's get the motor patterns perfect. If you look at kind of the Franz Bosch and a lot of the flow-on perspective in that way of thinking is like looking to get perfect movement patterns, but then you've got the other side of Charles Poliquin and Joe DeFranco of like, you can't flex bone. Is this going to make those muscles stronger? If it is going to make those muscles stronger, then you at least have the hardware there to go and do other things. So that's what we're getting here with this variation of the Nordic. Yes, you can do single leg stuff. You can do all sorts of other ways to develop the hamstrings, but ultimately, if the tissues are getting stronger, if they're able to tolerate explosive maximal efforts, then you're in a good position for sprinting. I haven't done any sprinting in a long time. And then when I went and sprinted in the States, I did some barefoot sprinting with the barefoot sprinter Graham Tuttle, and then I did some sprinting with Ben Patrick in LA and in Florida, and I wasn't concerned about my hamstrings at all. They didn't get sore. There was no chance, there didn't feel like there was any chance that I was going to pull the hamstrings. And I could also do Nordics. I haven't actually been training the Nordics that much, so I don't really credit the Nordic. What I credit is the long range hamstring work. So maybe we'll show a little bit of that to finish off this video. But I'll see if I can get some more reps here. Last set. Nice eccentric. Feels like it's warmed up a bit. So it's not very standardized. It's not really going to compare to anything that you guys do at home because we have got it on a bit of an angle, but then it's also the bench is set up as a bit of a deficit. So it's not a black and white thing. Ideally, we're on the same equipment and then you can compare and see exactly where you're at. But yeah, you can see for Kevin, that's a significant improvement. Just over 3 sets. We have got 2 ab mats there as well, you might have noticed. 2 ab mats under the knees. It's also working to take out the deficit effect because the foot pad's up really high compared to the pad. And the softer pad also makes it easier to get reps. So on the some of the other brands, the Atlantis, the Soren X1, the pad's really soft and that helps you to get more reps as well. So I recommend setting it up so that you can actually get reps. So go more on an incline. You do the banded variation as well. I would prefer to see people do long range work so that they don't feel like they're going to blow out the tendons and then go after these, because I like these with the explosive nature of getting out the bottom. I think the explosive part of getting out the bottom is a lot of the magic. So the Martin St. Louis variation, I'm a big fan of. Whereas when you do the banded version, it's probably more of a bodybuilding type approach that doesn't have the impulse of sprinting. We want that impulse effect from the sprinting. And that's going to carry over to sprinting. So when you go on super explosive at the bottom, that's the impulse that I'm talking about. So we'll finish this up with some long range. You can grab one of those black mat as well. So the long range, we want to be going for head to shin. And I like it to go for 10 to 20 reps on these generally. When these get really strong, you can get really sore off these. So I do believe they've made their way into the ATG 0 program, at least as one of the variations, instead of the elephant walks. The elephant walks are cool, but they don't actually really strengthen the tissues in the same way that you'll find you get really sore from these, and they'll also carry over very well to your Nordics. So I'm a big fan. You can then take these into doing them on the slant, foot up, same deal. This other foot, I'm only on the big toe here, and it's just making so balance is not the limiting factor, keeping the weight on the front foot. From there, we can either go into double leg variations for more load, and the double leg variation will emphasize the back. The single leg variation emphasizes the hamstring, which will help more for the Nordic. And so then we can go into single leg weighted on these as well. that's really the movement that I think has helped me to be able to get the Nordic. So we'll see how Kev does on these, and we'll finish out the video in this way. Straight leg, yeah. You would just start with the flat ground, no weight. Yep. Just flat ground. Yep, just the first one I was doing. Yeah, 1 foot plus big toe on the other foot, like this. Just the big toe. Look at my back foot. Yeah. Yep. Keep that front leg locked. Lock the quad. Lock the quad. Yeah. That's it. So we want 20 of them. By the time he's done 20 of them, he'll have sore hamstrings tomorrow. But as someone with a sprinting background, I can already see just from these that he's got explosive hamstrings, strong hamstrings. Getting a little bit more length into them will make them a little bit more resilient and would give him carryover to kicking, to splits, to all those kinds of movements. All right, so I hope that helped. I'd love to hear questions, thoughts, comments. A bit of a different style here with having Kevin in on the video. Manu, just be quiet for a second. Having Kevin here on the video for the last one, bit of an insight into his world and how this kind of training can help athletes. If you've got any questions for me or for Kev will be in the comments as well. If you like this style of content, let me know. If it's too long and you didn't like it as much, you can let me know as well. And yeah, feel free to send through any questions that are relevant to yourself or things that you'd like us to cover over the next few days. I think Kev's going to be here for a couple of weeks. We'll follow his journey, see if he puts on some mass, see if he gets some more strength. Let's put this to the test, put Kevin to the test over the next couple of weeks. Till next time.